Hey, this is Jared, and I'm back. I'm so excited to do another episode of Warriors Quest. Man, I am hyped. Okay, everyone should be hyped for this episode. Man, this is going to be lit. All right, man, we've got a great episode tonight. We're bringing on a great guest. All right, this guest has a story of triumph, a story of hope, and a story of inspiration. It's an amazing story. And so I don't know if you've got your seatbelt buckled or not, but you're in for a ride. And so I'm so happy to introduce our guest, our special guest tonight. We've got Nikki Ballou and Danielle DeWeese. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us, Jared.
Oh, you're so welcome, man. This is going to be awesome. Okay, wow. It's absolutely my pleasure. I'm honored to have you on the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We're honored to be here.
Well, man, usually where I start the show is by asking some simple questions, but would you kind of introduce yourselves and kind of tell us where you're from and where your story kind of begins?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Danielle, and this is my daughter, Nikki. Um, Nikki is 25 years old, and we first got Nikki when she was 3 years old. And we were asked to take Nikki as a foster child.
Uh-huh.
And basically, we were asked to bring her home from the hospital because they said she would never make it. And
Wow.
so that's kind of where our journey began many
Uh-huh.
years ago.
That,
Um,
that's
do
quite
you
the
want me to
beginning,
finish
though.
the story or do you want to ask questions?
Yeah, just very quickly, I'll interrupt you just very briefly, but why did they tell you that she may not live? I don't understand.
So she was 3 years old and
Uh-huh.
she was born with only one kidney that functioned, and it
Okay.
only functioned at a very small percentage.
Uh-huh.
Um, she had ended up having both kidneys removed, which was about the time that we were introduced to her.
Oh,
And she just
wow.
was not responding well to the dialysis. She didn't have a family. And so she was basically living in St. Louis Children's Hospital. And they
Wow.
just sort of felt like she was nearing her end of life and wanted her to
Uh-huh.
at least have somewhat of a family to go home to instead of being in a hospital environment
Okay.
for the remainder of her life.
Right. Wow. So how did you get introduced to her then?
So I was a licensed foster parent, and actually a friend of mine got the call from a social worker. She was also a foster parent, and she couldn't take her, and we just happened to be present when that phone call came in. And I had 5 or 6 other teenagers in the house at that time, and so I called DSS and said, "Hey, I would love to take this little girl." And they're like, "Well, you can't because you've got these other kids, so you can either, give them up to take her or not take her." And so I
Uh-huh.
kind of convinced them because I wasn't going to give up kiddos that had been in my home already, some of
Yeah.
them for at least a year.
Uh-huh.
Somehow I managed to talk them into let me try, and I felt I could be, I don't know, I just felt like it was something I was supposed to do, and talked them into it. And the next day went up to meet her. And I don't think I really at the time understood what I was getting myself
All
into.
right. So if I may ask you, Danielle, when you were, speaking to him at that point, what did you say to kind of, let them feel at ease, or make them feel comfortable with you doing this?
I basically said, "What do you have to lose?" They couldn't find any other placement for her, and she was going to end up in a retirement home for children of some sort, is the way they described it, like a nursing home type facility. And
Uh-huh.
I said, let me try, and if I fail, I fail. I didn't feel like if I failed, it was going to be detrimental any more than her going into a nursing home type facility.
Okay.
And so they said, "Okay, you can try." And And I honestly think having those a house full of teenage girls, I think they were very important in the stability that she soon began to experience, because she was spoiled rotten. Somebody was always holding her and loving on her, and
That is awesome.
yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like, they kind of embraced her nearly immediately.
Oh my goodness. She Nikki was hooked up to machines. She was hooked up to feeding pumps. She was on dialysis 12 to 16 hours a day.
Uh-huh.
So any moment that she was free from those machines, she was being carted around all over Cape Girardeau, Missouri. She was becoming a very
Wow.
active as we could let her be.
Yeah.
And she began to thrive. I mean, when we first got her, she couldn't eat by mouth. She was she couldn't tolerate her feedings. I mean, she was deteriorating very, very quickly. And she began to thrive, and she began to get a personality, and she would smile. And Nikki, just everybody that met her, she touched their lives. And I believe she helped more people than people helped her. If I were to be completely honest, she's just an inspiration.
So, man, wow, I've got so many questions, but before I start with some of my questions, I'm going to bring on Steve Belcher again. He's the guy who produces our shows. Again, I've already introduced you offline. I'm going to bring him on. He really brings a lot of medical background because he's been a nurse, and so I'm going to bring him on right now. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hey, what's going on, Jared? Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
This
Excellent show.
It is.
Excellent show.
This is unprecedented.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I am so excited to have her on, and I've got a bunch of questions. I'm sure you do, but Danielle, you were saying that that she almost had brought more love, or I can't remember how you phrased it, but what is it about her that nearly kind of connected you all? What is it about her that does that?
I feel like it's her determination. She's determined that no matter what comes her way, to push through it. And I also believe, Nikki does have a disability. She's nonverbal, not completely nonverbal. She can say about 15 to 20 words, but she knows what's going on.
All right.
Nikki, when she gets to know you, I really believe that she is the only person I know in my entire life, besides God, that can truly show unconditional love.
Wow.
And no matter what we go through or what we do or the mistakes that we might make, Nikki loves you. And we need that. Human beings need that.
Absolutely. Love is so important.
And she just exudes it. Like everybody can feel her love.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome. So, Miss Denise, how do the staff at the dialysis unit receive Nikki?
Oh, they love her. We do have a lot of support, which I think it's important. I work full time. We've got support staff. Luckily, I have been in the field of developmental disabilities, which has been very beneficial to understanding the system, to getting her the supports that she needs and that we need. So we do a self-directed program, which allows us to hire staff to come in and help us. And these staff are crucially important to her life. Because we do a self-directed program, it enables us to keep staff a lot longer, I believe, than going through different agencies and companies. Some of our staff, probably people that are on here now, have been in her life for years, some from when we first got her even. And so when I can't take her as her parent to speak for her, I rely on my staff.
Okay.
And like I said, even though Nikki doesn't have a whole lot of vocabulary, she can tell you when something's hurting her. And once those nurses get to know her at the dialysis center, they've been crucially, I mean, they're vitally important, because she can't say, hey, I feel like I'm getting dehydrated. You have to know her and know her personality. And so her staff advocate for her and speak for her. And eventually the nurses get to know her well enough too, where she can communicate in different ways.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask you. At the dialysis center, do they use cue cards, like maybe a symbol for, say, nausea, and a symbol for cramping, and a symbol for just feeling bad that maybe she could point to if something's going on that she can't verbally articulate that?
So you can ask Nikki yes or no questions. Are you hurting? And she'll say yes. You can say, show me where, and she'll point. She's got a very high pain tolerance, which sometimes makes it a little tricky, which is why either myself or staff sits with her during her entire treatments. We don't let her go in there alone.
I was going to ask you that. Do someone sits with her during treatment as well?
Yes. At all times. We do not let her ever go into treatment by herself.
All right.
Another question I wanted to ask, what type of dialysis access do Nikki have?
She has a graft. We did do, so when she stabilized when she was 3, and she did peritoneal dialysis when we first got her. So we had to learn that. And she did that. So when we first got her, they wouldn't even put her on a transplant list. And so until she stabilized, they had no intentions of ever putting her on that transplant list.
Wow.
Fast forward, several months after we got her, they started seeing a miracle. The doctors would tell you, this is a miracle. Like they never expected it. And can you say hi?
Hi, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
And so with about 6 months after we got her, like I said, she was on peritoneal dialysis, and they did put her on the list. And within 6 months, she had her first kidney transplant. She was able to go.
That is awesome. Wow.
After the transplant, I mean,
after all what they said too.
Oh my gosh, she started eating. She started. We don't use her feeding tube anymore at all, except for medications. And to be quite honest, in the last 2 weeks, we've eliminated those through the tube as well. So, but after her transplant, she went 10 years. The first one lasted 7 years. She went into kidney failure, but she never had to go back on dialysis. She got a second kidney before dialysis ever had to start again. So she went from the age of 3, 17 years later without dialysis at all. So that was a very scary, scary moment, because when we got her, that was her life. So she didn't know any better. Well, she went 17 years of freedom and feeling good. And not that there weren't some trials, through some medical issues, but
sure,
for the most part, this child was very, very healthy. We would all get sick and get the flu, and she would never get anything. So going back on dialysis 17 years later was very, very scary. And at the same time, she was entering into this adult world. So everything was changing for us. We'd been at the same hospital her whole life.
Okay.
So the same doctors were the same doctors that we had from the day we met her. And so now she's going into kidney failure and moving into an adult world. And I think I needed counseling to get through that. It was difficult.
Miss Denise, so before you met Nikki, did you know anything about kidney disease?
I had no knowledge of kidney
Wow.
disease
Okay.
whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know to live without.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I had zero knowledge. I had no medical knowledge of anything, to be honest.
Oh, what's that noise, Jared?
I don't hear it.
I heard it for a minute.
Okay. So, Miss Denise, knowing what you've been through with Nikki with kidney disease and not knowing about it beforehand, how has this experience changed you as a person?
The experience, you mean directly related to kidney disease or just all together?
All together, dealing with a child with a disability on top of fighting kidney disease and trying to seek a transplant. Because I'm sure, like you said before, you knew Nikki, you didn't have any knowledge or about kidney disease, and now you're thrust into a world of transplant, finding a donor, news appearances,
medical terminology.
How has this changed you as a person?
Oh goodness, I was just sort of having this conversation of before this went live of how I'm always in these situations now where I'm doing public speaking or first of all, it's given me a lot of knowledge. It's given me understanding and a whole lot of understanding. When we first got her, we were in the hospital and had all these supports around us. And like I said, I painted a really pretty picture, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
But when we first brought her home and suddenly the nurses weren't there, and I think for a solid year until she got that transplant, we didn't realize we only knew her how we got her. We didn't realize that the dialysis wasn't working as good as we thought it was until after she was transplanted, and then we could see how much better she started feeling.
Okay.
But it was the scariest time of my life. I didn't get no sleep. She was alarming all the time. She couldn't tolerate any of her feeds. So we weren't just learning dialysis. I had to learn how to do blood pressures and use the G tube and replace the G tube that nobody told me needed to be replaced until I was by myself. And
so Danielle, did they teach you how to cannulate, or was there any of that you learned how to do, or is that just all done by the staff?
Oh no, I know how to do every bit of her care.
Okay.
Staff are a huge support, but they have lives too, and they call in sick, and I make sure that I am up to date and knowledgeable of everything that this child needs, because at the end of the day, she's my responsibility. No matter who comes and goes, I mean, she's my responsibility. And I can remember that first year several times just hiding in the bathroom crying, because I'm like, I felt like her life was in my hands, and that's scary. Can you still hear me?
Yes, absolutely. We can still hear you. So.
Oh, okay. It went out for a minute on my end.
Okay.
Well, no, we just removed ourselves from the broadcast to give you the public light.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No worries. We just wanted to make sure you were solo so that we weren't a distraction for what you're saying.
Gotcha. Sorry. So yeah, that first year was it was hard. We relied on support from our church family a great deal. My family didn't live in the area, and so didn't really have a lot of family support, but mostly friends and what we called family from our church at that time was our biggest support, and a lot of faith in God. But like I said, I can remember times thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do this? Can I do it? And I would look at Nikki, and then I would think, wait a minute, she's the one in pain. She's the one suffering, and she's just looking at me smiling. And so anytime I felt afraid or scared, it's like she could sense it. And she is what kept me going.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is so that the audience can see both of you is I'm going to have you continue to talk, but just for a brief moment, I'm going to remove me and Steve just so that the audience can see you both. Okay.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit more about how you're moving forward and continue to say what you were saying. Okay.
So, so yeah, we got through that first year. She got her transplant, and once she got her transplant, it seemed like it was smooth sailing. And yeah, she still had to have a lot of medications, and we still had to monitor. But for the first time, we were able to start working more on, other things that she needed to learn, communication, and she's learned how to, self-feed. She can feed herself completely independently once you give her food, and how to make choices. And so, she went the first 4 years of her life and was so sick, it was hard to really concentrate on those things. And I mean, Nikki can use a communication device. She can maneuver it, turn it on. She can point to pictures. She can communicate that way. We don't use it a whole lot because we know what she wants and what her needs are. We give her a lot of choices. She likes to be independent. She likes to choose her own clothes. She likes to wear jewelry. She's a little human being, that yes, she has disabilities, but her abilities are much more than what her disabilities are. And that's what I've learned. I think the biggest lesson I've learned through all of this is, and I ended up years later going to school, getting my degree in social work, working in the field of developmental disabilities. And I feel like I've been able to help a lot of other people working in the field, because oftentimes people take for granted that people with disabilities, they don't have a voice. They often don't let them live lives that they're truly capable of living. And if I had to say the most important thing I've learned, it might be that, because Nikki does have choices. She goes out, she wants to go to the movies. She wants to go to the park. She wants to go shopping. And I think it would be very easy, I don't take credit for the success or the life that Nikki's had, because I know that anybody that would have just given her the opportunity would have had the same result. Somebody that would have just loved her. And I think that would be another lesson, to say that love really can heal. The doctors had given up on her, and love and stability is what changed her life. So yeah, that's, now I don't even know what the original question was, other than she's changed our lives for sure.
That's awesome.
No, that is awesome. It is a story of love.
Well, I commend you, Miss Denise, for, taking Nikki in and taking care of her and bringing her health up to, because like you said, I'm sure that's hard when you have to deal with a disease that you never dealt with before. When she first started at dialysis, was it hard for the staff to get adjusted to Nikki because of her disabilities?
We have been blessed with staff. I've seen a few of them pop up on here, and I don't know if I really wish that, I think it would be important if you could talk to some of her staff and get their input on it. But I feel like, gosh, she's just so easy to love. Like, they meet her and they fall in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, we've had staff that we couldn't keep for whatever reason. I mean, it's not always just perfect. If they don't take care of Nikki, we don't keep them.
Right. Yeah. obviously you've got to make sure that it's top quality care. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Denise, let me ask you a question. Now, this is perspective. So, I used to travel around to dialysis units. So, let's just say if I came to Nikki's unit, one of the charge nurses, and if I was to assess Nikki, I mean, of course, I'll introduce myself. Like if I come up to her and say, "Hi, Nikki, I'm Steve. I'm the charge nurse today. I'll be giving you meds or doing your assessment." Will she understand that what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So when she transitioned from pediatrics into the adult world, I had to really, and not that the transition had anything to do with it, but when she needed to be listed for the third time, it was very, very difficult. The doctors were fighting me. They were not going to list her. And like I said, some of the doctors she had her entire life, who I had gained some insight. Nobody ever really said for sure, but there was a lot of ethical conversations that were taking place. Whether or not because of her disability, is she deserving of this third transplant? Because as you age, your disability becomes more obvious to people. When you're a baby, you know, when you're little,
A
and
little
you're
less obvious.
Yeah, it's a little less obvious. And so I had a physician that would not meet with me, and he apparently was like this final decision maker. And anytime she was admitted, she was getting very, very, very sick. We were watching her die. And I know that sounds very strong, but she, you know,
It's the
at the
truth,
end
though.
of, before dialysis started, you know, as an adult, we couldn't wake her up often for days. She couldn't eat. You could see she's little anyway. She had like 15 to 20 pounds. And I was screaming. I felt like, why is nobody listening to me? It was scary. There were times we called 911 because she was unresponsive. So finally, after a year, I don't even really remember. It was such an emotional and exhausting year. Got the doctor to agree to meet with us. So we had an appointment finally. And so on the way up, you know, to the hospital, I prayed and I asked God to show me how to advocate for her.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get a little mouthy and a little bit too talkative, and I just wanted to make sure.
You're entitled to that.
I wanted to make sure
absolutely
that I didn't mess anything up. So I prayed and I asked God to shut my mouth when it needed to be shut and to open it when it needed to be shut.
All right.
And so we get into the doctor's office and he comes in with an attitude. I mean, you could just clearly tell. Kind of had his arms crossed, leaning up against the wall, and he's like, you know, she's had 2 transplants, and now she's malnourished and she's sick. And well, yeah, because she is sick. She needs a dialysis and she needs a transplant.
Right.
And he's like, she doesn't really understand. And so I'm feeling this anger. I'm like, but she does. But I was so worried she wouldn't, because she gets bashful. Like right now, she's not really doing a whole lot.
Right. Okay.
She's tired. She had dialysis today, so it's kind of been a long day for her. But
I
was kind of worried. I'm like, I knew he needed to see her abilities. And I knew that, one, because one of the other doctors said, whatever you can do, I'm going to give you advice. You've got to show this man her abilities. So I'm like, oh, gosh, how can I do that? So we go in, and he's like, well, I need her to take a deep breath. And how am I supposed to get her to do that? I said, you could ask her. And he's like, Nikki, can you take a deep breath? And she's like, you know, she did it. And,
wow. Okay.
and she smiled, just this most beautiful smile at him, almost like, yeah, ask me. And so then he's like, well, can you come move her arm up? And he wanted to do something. I'm like, you could ask her to do that. And so he's like, Nikki, can you lift your arm up? And so sure enough, she lifts her arm up. I mean, she knows.
She understands.
And
Gotcha.
he's like,
That's awesome.
he was like, wow, she understands. And she said, yes. That's one of the words that she can say. And so she's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, my mouth is staying shut. Like, I'm letting her now self-advocate completely. And he's like, wow, I didn't know she really understood. And because he obviously wasn't one of the doctors that followed her entire life.
Yeah.
And she was listed that next day.
Wow.
Long story short, she hugged him. She blew kisses to him.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That is so.
Hey, Jared, I just wanted to interrupt and go back because I want to just kind of point something out. And I believe this person probably working dialysis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Her name is Lexi Grimmont. She says, I was an 18-year-old right out of high school and had no idea what I was getting myself into, which I'm thinking dialysis. And at all but working with Nikki changed my life for the best and has changed my mind on my entire career path. Now, whether she works in dialysis or maybe as an aide and assistant Nikki, this is the type of person, whether she works in dialysis or not, that I like to work with. That type of people that can, tell you that a person changed your life and that can acknowledge
powerful.
That. You understand? Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Lexi was a friend of mine. I knew her from, or I didn't know her, but a friend of mine knew her. I'm like, are you crazy? I am not going to have an 18-year-old come here and take care of Nikki. And she convinced me into it. She said, I'll stay. I'll even monitor, I'll help. I'll train. I'll do all this. And very reluctantly, I allowed Lexi into our home. And at first thing I learned about Lexi is she wasn't your typical 18-year-old. Very mature.
That's cool. That's cool. She was very mature then. All right.
Very mature. Very loving. She talked to Nikki like she was a person. And for an 18-year-old to do that, that was the first thing I noticed. About Lexi is she treated Nikki just like a little human being.
Yeah, a regular adult.
And she ended up being one of my very best staff and one of Nikki's very strongest advocate. And although she doesn't work with Nikki anymore, today she worked with her for several years. And then, of course, she got married and had a child of her own. So she works with individuals with disabilities is what her current job is. It's the same with my own daughter. She just turned 20 today, actually. And
happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Savannah.
Happy birthday to Nikki's sister.
Yes.
Miss Denise. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just say, Savannah works in the field of disabilities. She's a support broker for families like our own, and she helps hire staff and advocates for people with disabilities. And in fact, she did a news interview about Nikki. I've seen that on her Facebook page, but Nikki changes lives.
Wow.
Miss Denise, I wanted to ask you, you're a social worker and you work with kids and people with disability. With the past news of abuse and disability homes and other places, and with maybe staff that comes, through, I'm sure you're very, very reserved. Does the thought of abuse ever plays in the back of your mind?
Every day. I first started working as a service coordinator. Well, it wasn't my first job, but about a year into my career, I started working as a service coordinator that monitored the agencies that took care of people with disabilities. In my first day on my job, going into a residential facility and also into a day program, I had to walk out and sit in the car and regroup and cry
It's
because
wow.
these individuals were being treated as objects and not people. And I said that very day, my kids will never go into a facility. Now, I am not saying, I don't want to sit here and say there are good workers and there are good.
Right.
Um, Years later, I was very blessed with the opportunity to then go from providing oversight to these agencies
Mm-hmm.
to work for a provider agency. And it felt so amazing to be able to be a part of that because there
Okay.
were staff. I had a position as the director, and I feel like what I could offer was I'm not going to let people take care of these individuals that I wouldn't let take care of my own child. And it's hard. It's hard to find good staff. Agencies are forced to pay low wages. They a lot of times aren't able to offer benefits.
Right.
And they're caring for our most vulnerable population.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can remember when I first started, I was working around the clock because I couldn't find staff that I felt were, capable or good enough and
Doing quality work. Okay.
quality. And so it's my dream someday to become a provider, and it will happen.
So Daniela, Lisa Baxter had a good question. I'm gonna put the comment on the screen here. She puts here, did she ever get sick on the machine, or did she ever refuse treatment?
No.
Good question, Lisa.
Yes. So she's been sick on the machine. We ended up on hemodialysis a couple years ago after she'd gotten peritonitis. She got it and became very sick and became septic and was in very critical shape. We had to pull that catheter. We were so scared because we thought, oh, now we can't do this at home. We thought we were going to and it ended up being a blessing in disguise. Her first hemodialysis treatment, she responded to. She's saying bye-bye. She's telling her staff she wants to go bye-bye.
Okay.
She sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
You're okay.
So we switched to hemodialysis. It was new to us. It was very scary for us because we knew peritoneal from when she was a baby, and then we relearned it and did it again. She did that for a couple of years before we switched over to hemo, and like I said, responded well.
What kind of a transition was that for her?
What kind of transition?
Yeah, was that a hard transition to move from that to hemodialysis?
Health-wise, no, because she felt so much better. Nikki loves to go bye-bye. It's one of her favorite things to do. So at first, she was getting to go bye-bye extra.
All right.
The hardest part was we ended up at dialysis, and then she'd get ticked off at us. And as sweet as she is, she has another side to her as well. And you're getting ready to see her. Just saw her staff walk outside.
I'm sure.
She wants to go with them. She's had a few episodes where they've had to call 911 while on the machine. She doesn't do well when she gets on the dehydrated side. She does.
Oh, gotcha.
So
all right.
She's had a few seizures
while
on the machine, but those times it was because of of taking too much fluid off. It's always a fine balance because she weighs 90 pounds and she's very small, and so Medicare or Medicaid one only allows you to take some fluid off. And so we go back and forth with her being a couple weeks, so she had fluid overload.
Yeah.
So we had to do an extra treatment because of the guidelines that Medicare sets in place or whatever. So there's been a few times, but I think 3 times we've had issues while on the machine, and that's it. Now, there were times where staff had to say, hey, we need to stop treatment because they could tell she was getting dehydrated. And so we all know dehydrating for her is scary.
Miss Denise.
Trouble.
Miss Denise, do they weigh Nikki in a wheelchair?
They do.
Has there ever been any discrepancies, like when they weigh her in the wheelchair when she starts treatment and then when she leaves, maybe they say she put more fluid on, or? taking more fluid off? I'm just curious because, sometimes when we weigh patients in the wheelchair, staff don't correctly weigh the wheelchair and make sure it's calibrated and the scale is calibrated. When they put the wheelchair on the scale and make sure all the wheels and everything is balanced and, all the whatever she may have, like snacks or purse, clothing and stuff like that. Has there ever been any discrepancy you ever known of in the past or anything?
There hasn't, because our staff weigh her. They're the ones that put her, her personal staff. The dialysis staff will never do it. So our staff puts her on the scale.
Got you.
And they make sure, there's a weight on her.
And then they give the weight to the staff.
Yeah. I think the dialysis staff kind of like us having our staff on board.
Miss Denise, one more question, Jared. Is there a log that you have the dialysis unit fill out for you to send back of exactly how Nikki's treatment went throughout her time while she's there?
Not one that they did, but Mama created her own. And so it goes back and forth to
that's what I mean. Do you send one that you create? Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So you get opportunity to see what are vital signs and everything that happened during treatment.
Yes.
Wow, you are on top of it.
I have to be.
You gotta be. You gotta be. You gotta be, Jared. Seriously.
We got to keep her healthy. We still believe a kidney's coming.
Surely.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a discrepancy, or the last few weeks. It's interesting that you asked that. I don't know that it's a discrepancy, but Nikki's appetite has increased a lot in the last several months. And when we had this fluid overload,
they probably need to increase her weight.
We were trying to tell them to please reevaluate her dry weight, and we were having some getting that done. That we had to kind of get in there, and staff was excellent, at reminding them, I don't think enough fluid's coming off. Like, we're not taking off enough, and unfortunately she did end up sick with fluid on her lungs, and then they listened. But so that was, kind of an issue of just talking about her weight and getting them to listen and say, we know what she's eating. We document everything. I have a book that's got every time she eats, every snack she eats, every medication. She's eating some candy now. So
all right. Well, speaking
of Jared, you know what, Jared? I almost I don't want to say blame the staff, but normally the nurses, when they do their assessment on the patient to see the fluid status, checking their ankles, listening to the lung sounds, and just making that assessment and looking back at the history. Like say, for instance, what I used to do, Jared, is look back at the last 3 treatments, or the last week of what a person left out at each treatment, and you kind of get a sense of what you can kind of estimate fluid to take off. You can ask them, did you feel this way or that way? Look at their blood pressures at post-treatment. If it's low, more than likely you've taken off too much fluid. If a patient stands up or leaves out like 80 over 60, and they normally leave out maybe 120 over 80 or 110 over 70, and they leaving out 80 standing up and feeling dizzy, then you've taken more than you should have.
Well, and so she did have the signs. Her little feet were swelling up. Her blood pressure was going up. She was becoming very irritable. She was hitting at us and stuff that just was totally out of care. She was trying to say, hey, something's wrong. And so she and we were trying to communicate that to them, and say. Now, on the flip side of that, we had recently made a move, and so this was a new dialysis clinic, which didn't help the situation very much at all. But we got it figured out. I think we got them to understand that, you know, her staff knows her very well. You know, her home staff and her mama knows her very well, and we agreed that, you know, when we're communicating, everybody should listen.
So
I'm
you
not
were
saying that
talking
we're
about,
always right, but we are right
well, you
a lot
know
of
her,
the time.
right? And you know her better than anybody as her mom. So
Yeah.
yeah, so absolutely, you know, you should be the one that kind of, you know, gives direction. But I was a little bit curious. You were talking about food. What kind of renal diet do you have her on, and how does she follow that? Does she, you know, what does she follow up pretty well, or does she, like other things that and maybe cheat a little bit?
So Nikki loves food. But the good news is she loves food so much she eats what we give her. And
Uh-huh.
so we do have to change it a lot. You know, sometimes recently her phosphorus was too high, and so we had to talk with the dietitian about high phosphorus foods and to change, what changes needed to be made. And so the good thing is we can change those for her, and and give her choices that don't include those foods in them.
Okay.
As long as she gets to still make some choices of what she's eating, she's pretty easy to please. Thank goodness when it comes to food.
All
And
right.
so because of that, I think it makes it easier
All right.
to keep her healthy and to follow those guidelines. And it changes a lot. It changes a lot.
So does
Oh,
she,
Miss Danielle, I want to apologize. I've been calling you Denise, so my apologies.
That's
Wanted to make that
okay.
clear. Yeah.
Hey, we go with the flow.
so she takes
Yes.
binders. I mean, and she's able to watch her phosphorus because of what you do and what you watch as far as her food.
Yeah, she does take phosphate before every meal and
Okay.
before every snack. And that, like I said, that changes. So right now she currently does take those things, and next week when we do labs, they could say, okay, we can discontinue those, or she's getting too much potassium, or she's not getting enough potassium, and then we
Okay.
just make those diet changes.
And just kind of make changes along the way, and and man, and she sounds like from everybody that has commented has just enlightened and brightened their lives. I mean, it's so enlightening to hear that from some of these comments. Um, and what an inspiration story, because it was almost as though she was counted out by some of these doctors, at a younger age.
I definitely think she was being counted out.
Yeah.
And I feel that way working in the field, unfortunately, with a lot of people that have disabilities. I feel like
Uh-huh.
they're often counted out. I feel
Wow.
like they're often not given options, and people just make choices for them. And sometimes it's not even people trying to be bad or mean, or sometimes we just get in this. I think people get in this caretaker role. They think they're helping, but really they're limiting their abilities, instead of empowering them to live as independent as what they could.
Mm-hmm. Does she ever have problems sleeping, is what Lisa's asking. Many kidney warriors have insomnia.
She has problems sleeping only if you don't turn her television off. She will stay up all night. She is a night owl.
Okay.
And but as long as we don't leave her Netflix series on, she sleeps pretty well.
Yeah.
We have noticed recently, when we haven't addressed this yet, but we have noticed recently, and I don't know, can you give me a tissue? Mm-hmm. Maybe some sleep apnea that's new.
All right. Okay.
Not sure if that came on when we were experiencing some that fluid overload the last week, because it does seem like it's gotten a little better the last few nights, but definitely something we need is to look into. I don't know if that has anything to do with kidneys or dialysis, but she's suddenly
snoring and having trouble.
Snoring and gasping times, like wakes her up. And
okay.
So
Could it be possibly sleep apnea?
Oh, looks like we may have lost her. Hopefully she comes right back.
Jared, absolutely, Jared. This is a great show you put together. I must commend you. Very gracious lady.
Wow. Yes. I'm just gonna send her a quick text if she'll come back on. Hopefully Nikki's okay and that's not why she's left. Oh, here she is.
Okay. Right. Please share this broadcast. Broadcast.
Sorry we lost you for a moment there.
I think that was on our end for some reason. Sorry.
No worries, that happens.
We're using a phone now, so
okay.
For some reason our iPad went out. It's plugged in. I'm not really sure what happened, so I apologize.
No worries. It's all good. So Steve and I were just talking. This has just been a wonderful opportunity. There are so many layers here. I mean, it's a story of triumph. It's a story about a special child who was counted out at a younger age, who's been surrounded by love from you and from your children, who have become basically her sisters and are her sisters, and she's able to brighten their lives, and she's brightened everyone's lives that she's touched. It's such an inspiring story. And so I'm hoping that everybody who's watching this sees the display that I'm putting down at the bottom of the screen that's going across the screen here as a ticker, that Nikki is O positive and she's listed at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, and the number's there. I'm hoping that we can have people share this and get this information out there to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Miss Danielle, have Nikki been offered a Hep C kidney?
She was not, but we were offered, we had gotten a call, and I can't remember exactly the terminology, so I apologize, but they said it was
compromise. Compromise.
Yeah, it was from somebody that was participated in a gay relationship or gay lifestyle, but everything had been checked out, and they asked if that would bother us, and of course we said no. As long as all the tests had been run, those things didn't make us any difference. Unfortunately for that kidney, she was the third person on the list. So even though we got the call, the people ahead of her were able to receive those kidneys, and so she didn't have the opportunity, but we would have taken it.
Absolutely. We've had a separate show just on compromised kidneys and whether someone would take a Hep C kidney, and it's always a personal
decision. They would afford the medication as well.
Right.
Yeah. We were asked before if we would take, an elderly kidney, if it was an elderly person that passed away. And, I guess when we got the call, we would make those decisions at that point. I think as long as it's going to increase her, if it's in her best interest, then that's all that matters.
Right. At the end of the day, it's what's good for her.
Yeah, whatever allows her to be as healthy as she can and remain as independent as she possibly can, then that's how those decisions would be made. Okay.
Now, before you were talking about how she likes Netflix, what kind of shows does she watch on Netflix? I'm just curious.
Right now, her favorite show and our least favorite show is Can you call Brooklyn and tell her her sister's trying to call us, her little sister?
All right. Okay.
So sorry if that interrupted. Is the show Victorious on Netflix? It's a show about teenagers in high school that go to a performing arts school, and it has a lot of music. Nikki's favorite thing is music.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Likes anything with music. She likes to go to any kind of concerts or musicals.
Okay.
She loves the part of church where there's praise and worship, and then gets mad when it's over.
Very cool. Does she move around? Does the music make her move?
Music, she loves anything that probably a preteen. She watches a lot of the same things that like her 11-year-old sister would watch on Netflix. The show Jessie.
All right.
Camp. What's the camp? Probably any of my staff that are on here could tell me the name of it. I can't think.
Okay. I know what you mean, though.
I can't think of the name of it, but it's a Disney show.
Right. It's a Disney show.
I can't remember it because I watched it this weekend with my daughter.
She understands comedy. She likes comedy, believe it or not.
I know what show you mean, though. It has some of the same cast from Jessie.
So she's got a good sense of humor. And then again, it just shows her understanding is more than what people think, because she'll laugh at the most appropriate times. And, like, wow. And there are times, as much as I know how smart she is, that I'm still sometimes surprised, or she'll learn a new word. And I'm like, did she really just say that? And she'll be like, yes, like, duh. So she's still learning, and still growing every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow. Well, Nikki, it has been absolutely fantastic to have you as a guest, Nikki. It's been wonderful.
For some reason, I don't hear you guys.
Can you hear me okay? Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So
we have no sound on our end.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna send her a message to hopefully just kind of log out, log back in, because it sounds like she can't hear us.
All right. This is live. I mean, you can't get this type of entertainment anywhere else.
Okay.
Plus the education.
Right. I'm gonna send her a message to hopefully just kind of log out, log back in.
Yeah, Jared, this has been an awesome show. I mean, an hour of insightful, inspirational, heartwarming story of a lady who took in a young child that they said that wasn't going to make it. And look at her now, Jared.
Right.
Yeah, we got you back.
All right. Can you hear us again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And Lexi was just saying Katy Perry's song Roar used to be on our jam in the car with windows down all summer long. Is that something that Nikki likes?
She loves that song. She's definitely got her favorites. Lexi, what was the other song she likes? Oh, Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus.
Oh, very cool.
And then what's it, Adele? Hello. She's like
her other staff saying that the song Adele, Hello. She'll try to sing to it.
Awesome. Awesome.
She's got a good taste in music.
If you don't mind, can you introduce us to the staff?
She might kill me. She's. This is Jennifer.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Jennifer's been with us for about a year.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Hi, Jennifer. Wow, you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks for taking care of Nikki so well.
She's easy to care for. You can't, anybody who meets her will fall in love with her. She's just, she has the smile. I mean, even on bad days, she'll give you smiles. Even when you know that she's not feeling well, she's going to blow you kisses, give you hugs. The one thing it is funny, though, because if you don't have reflexes and you work with Nikki, you'll learn to get them real quick because she can throw a quick left at you.
You learn to be very quick, huh?
Yeah, she learned to be quick.
Jennifer, how long have you been working with disabled individuals or individuals with disabilities?
I have actually been in this field since I was 18. So I started right after I turned 18. So I'm 40 now. So
All right.
yes,
Wow.
Veteran.
Wow. So you pretty much most of your career.
Yes, sir. And I have, there's days that are stressful and you go home and you cry and you want to know why you're staying in this field and you're stressed.
Oh,
And,
yes.
and I'm constantly, okay, what am I doing? But at the end of the day, I know this is where God wanted me. And so,
Amen.
like you said,
Amen.
I want these guys to have the same quality of life as I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it should be allowed. I mean,
Surely.
so they require
Absolutely.
a little extra help getting up and getting dressed and going on activities and everything. But at the end of the day, if we want to do something, we're able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So they are too. So I really try to make it that this is their life and they have choices just like we do. So
yeah. Well said.
Wow.
Well
Wow.
said.
And we need people like that to work in dialysis, Jed. I'm
Every
telling
one
you.
of them, right? If it would be awesome if we had technicians like this in every single.
Well, I mean, we do. We need more.
And Jennifer is our primary staff that does. So I have one staff that does her dialysis only, with a backup staff that maybe goes just to stay up and knowledgeable on it. But Jennifer does all of her dialysis appointments for Nikki. And
wow.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Yes. Yeah. Jared, I used to get that way sometimes. Dialysis 14 hours, go home because you're working these long hours and sometimes it's not the best of days and, be wanting to quit as well, man. And I mean, it gets hard sometimes being a caregiver.
Right.
Well, in this situation, I think is unique also being in people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
In our home, we have to be who we are. And when we first got Nikki and started having like home health nurses come in, and we would try to all tiptoe around and try to present ourselves as this perfect family. And that got old real quick because when they left, we were all like tearing each other up and reality was coming out.
Being normal, sure.
We were being normal.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we always, when I'm interviewing staff, which I don't have to do a whole lot of because like I said, they usually come and stay.
Yeah.
But I tell them you're going to see, this isn't, yes, your job is Nikki, but you're going to see a real life family. And I don't get to go into your home and judge you, or, I might say a bad word, or I might have an argument. I might do something you don't like. But it's our life. I mean, we have to live our life. My kid might make a really bad choice and you might see it and think your kid's better than my kid or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're just, we're a typical family. We learn to just be ourselves. And so these staff that we have become our family. Nikki's godmother, I noticed, was commenting on here earlier. She was one of Nikki's first staff when Nikki was a very young child, and she's been in our life for the last, she'll probably correct me, I think she's the one that corrected my name on here, but she's been in our life. She's seen all my children born. She's seen me go through a divorce. I mean, real life stuff. She's commenting now, Nicole. And they're our lifelong family members.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's
awesome that you have a support system as well.
We're very, very blessed. But I think that is, again, Nikki, they just fall in love with her. We always kind of joke. We said if she ever really starts talking real good, we might be in trouble because she knows every one of our secrets.
Right.
But she loves us still, no matter
She
what.
still loves you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Danielle. This has absolutely been a fantastic, inspiring show. This is, I am so thankful and I'm honored. It's been my pleasure to be able to have you on the show and to put this information out there to give more people the information and to feel hopefully compassion for someone who is deserving of a kidney. Now I understand that she's connected with her hospital with the paired exchange program. So, this is an awesome opportunity to talk about that, because even if you're not, type O or type A, okay, it doesn't matter. With the paired exchange program, you can apply no matter what blood type you are, and that hospital generally will match up somebody and do the work for you with the different organizations they're connected with. And it sounds like that's what they've done for you in the past. Isn't that right, Danielle?
It is. The young lady that you saw the newscast on, that she flew in from South Carolina, and we got to meet her, which was just, and she's another one, she'll always be a part of our family.
She's connected.
Whether or not she ends up being the person. But she's the one that actually, Ashley, and she's commenting right now. She's the one, such an inspiration, this young woman. Like it's going to make me cry when I think about it, because she didn't even know us, and was willing to do this, and she got further than any other person that's tried to donate. She made it to the final stages, to where did the first round of tests and things were good, second round, and then when they mixed her blood with Nikki's blood, Nikki's blood attacked her blood, fought against it.
Wow.
And she was devastated. She didn't give up. She's the one that said, hey, what about the paired exchange program? And she checked into it, and
so she
made the initial
Jared, you need to get her on your show, Jared.
Yeah. So she asked about that, Danielle?
She did.
Wow.
And I had remembered, after she mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember them talking about that. But until you have somebody to pair up with you, so it kind of slipped my mind.
Yeah.
And she's like, it was her determination that she's like, well, wait a minute, what about this? And yeah, she made the first phone call to the coordinator and said, can we do this? And what do we do? And how do we do it? And she started the process. And, yeah.
God bless you, Ashley. Wow.
Yeah.
Jared, that's somebody you need to have as a guest on Warriors Quest. We need to hear Ashley's story and what inspired her to do that. Because not a lot of people, Jared, not a lot of people do that. And that's why there's more people needing a kidney than there are donors.
Right. So shortage of donors.
Ashley, please reach out to us, to Jared A. Brown, so we can hear your story if you like.
Love to hear that. Yeah, that in itself is a great story.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's seen Nikki's Facebook page because of a friend that I had in high school. Followed her page, and it was actually my friend's stepdaughter. Ashley is my friend's stepdaughter. So we hadn't seen each other in years. I'm telling my age here now, but I haven't been in high school in a long time. And so that's how Ashley first heard about it. And she's a young mom, has her own child. Wow. And she flew from South Carolina to Missouri to meet Nikki. And
Jazz, you don't hear these stories.
No, not at all. So let's back up just a little bit, though, if we could rewind just a bit. So could you tell us a little bit about how you felt and how Ashley felt when the news first broke that the final testing it was determined that Nikki's antibodies were resisting. Can you kind of play that out a little bit for us?
It's devastating. It's an emotional roller coaster ride. Because you feel like you're so close. She's been on the list now for 6 years, I think, almost. And we've gotten 2 phone calls from cadaver donors. The first one, she was the primary candidate, and again, her blood fought against their blood. We made a trip up there and was in the hospital all night just waiting and excited. And Lexi, who is on here too, could probably comment some. She immediately, these staff show up at the hospital, even if they're not working with her, to be there and wait. And so that's happened to us twice where we were sent home. It's the same feeling when Ashley we were so hopeful. And I think it was harder for me when Ashley wasn't a match, because in my mind, at the hospital, when the primary candidate got it and she didn't, it's like how can you be sad because somebody still got the gift of life? So you feel happy for them. The first time when she was the primary and didn't get it, and I just kind of felt like maybe the second person needed it more than her, and kind of that helped a lot, knowing somebody's still getting it and somebody's life is still being saved. With Ashley, being a living donor and making it through that first round, and actually her following through. A lot of people will call or send me messages. I've had hundreds of people say that, they're going to check into it. And when somebody makes that decision, I want it to be solely their decision. So I kind of sit back. Once I'm told, I give them the information. If they follow up with me, great. I don't go hound them or, knock on their doors and say, hey, this is what you said. Did you do it? So I don't even know what happens. Or if
that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. But with this case, Ashley was keeping us informed on every step of the way. I knew she was serious. I knew she was healthy, and we both felt like this is and we felt that's what God put her in our life to do. And so when it didn't happen, I'm going to be honest. You're like, why, God? This shouldn't happen. And when Nikki has bad days, it's like, it's hard. It can be a test of your faith for sure. So I still kind of, in my mind, in my heart, I still kind of feel like Ashley wasn't brought into our life for nothing. Something's going to happen there. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know what. Maybe it will be on this paired exchange program. Then time goes by and you kind of feel hopeless. And like I said, if it wasn't for Nikki's personality, this could be very hard. But when you're having a bad day and you feel hopeless, like she just does something right at the perfect time, just to say, okay, mama, keep on going, just keep on going and keep believing.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
Wow. It's and I agree with you as a man of faith myself. I just don't believe that there are coincidences, and for Ashley to come into your life, there must be some sort of connection and why she must be involved, and whatever that might be. I'm not sure how that will play out, but it sounds like she has, kind of been, she's been part of the fold now, and she's part of nearly your whole family, and she's part of the whole posse, team Nikki.
Yep, she's another warrior in our life.
Yeah. And and the more people that can give her support, the more people that can surround her with love, the better. And there's it sounds like there's no shortage of love for Nikki right now. And it's wow, because man, there's so many other stories where there are people that are alone. There are kidney warriors that are depressed because they don't have family supporting them. There are other and I'm not saying that your story isn't by far and away, you're not going to have bad times. I'm not saying that your story is perfect, You're going to have bad days just like everybody else, and there's going to be times where she's not feeling well. But I am so thrilled that she's surrounded by love and has such a great, support system.
Absolutely.
Such a great base.
Yes, she definitely is, and it's truly a blessing. I think about it all the time. I've gotten so many wonderful people that's come into my life that I would have never met because of Nikki. And there's a whole bunch of different angles on this. The other thing, and I'll just touch on it real quick. So my current job is an adoption recruiter for high risk kiddos, kiddos especially like Nikki or teenagers. We need those families too. We need people that will step in for people that for these kiddos that people have just really given up on, and society is just looked at almost as if they're undeserving, and they're so deserving. I mean, it is scary, but man, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Wow. And even when something happens and you can learn and you grow, this is how you've become who you are right now. And so I can see that, that may be the very reason why you wouldn't change anything, because you're at right now and that's who you are. And if these things hadn't happened, you wouldn't be how you've progressed right now. And there's so much wisdom with what you've said. And I know that it isn't an easy journey, and I just want to share one more thing that, it's going to cover up some of the screen, but I want to share one more thing that Ashley has put on here. Okay.
Okay.
So she says, Danielle has been an amazing the whole time. She is right. She never pushed to get any information out of me, but I wanted her to know every step of the way for a little bit of fresh air and confirmation. And so, wow. With the HIPAA laws and everything, she didn't have to share information. That's not something that she has to do. So, for her to feel connected and feel love and wanting to give you that information certainly means that she did kind of feel connected and, bonded. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It is, man.
That made me tear up because, like I said, we get a lot of phone calls and they won't tell us at the transplant center. So they call me and say, hey, I'm going to call tomorrow. I can't call up there and say, hey, how many people called today? Or so sometimes it does get discouraging because, like I said, we've been at this now for 6 years, and even though we've gotten 2 phone calls and we've had about 3 or 4 people that have definitely put in the effort and went through testing and were denied, it's not a whole lot in 6 years, and so that was very, Ashley did give us hope, and she gave me a minute to breathe and to think, okay, maybe this is, and I still feel that way because, it is still possible.
Right. It is. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And not only, it's not only the people that want to donate. I mean, if you look at our Facebook page, if I'm worried about something, I'll put it on there. I'm not afraid to, hey, we need prayers. And I believe that those folks are just as important. We got people praying out there for this child all over the world, that I think we don't even have a clue how many people are supporting her in different ways.
You don't, somebody may be in Nigeria, or somebody may be in somewhere else in Europe praying for her. You never quite know who's following your page that may be praying for her. I mean, it's and I know it's a cliche when we say that, this is a small world, but we are so connected. You never know who might be praying for her. You never know. And the more people that we pray, at united like that, the more powerful it becomes. I believe that a great number of people praying for one thing can do great things. I do.
And then there's people, and I'm not kidding, we've walked into restaurants before, and one time I was in a restaurant, and there was it was a motorcycle gang, and one of the guys
Really?
came up to me, a big burly guy. He's
Uh-huh.
like, "Are you Danielle?" And I'm like,
Right.
I don't know, maybe. And he's like, and then he said, I guess he could see like the look on it. He's like, "Well, are you Nikki's mom?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Hey, our motorcycle gang wants to do a fundraiser for Nikki." And I'm like,
Oh,
"What?"
that's fantastic.
Oh man.
And
Yeah.
again,
You
so
never know. You never
you
know.
don't know. And
Yeah.
and I learned a
Mhm.
lesson that very moment, don't
Yeah.
pass judgment on anybody.
All different kinds of walks of life. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you can't judge a book by its cover.
But absolutely. So, we didn't, at that time, we don't need any fundraisers.
Yeah.
But I said, maybe when we get a donor, then we can call on you guys for the donor family to raise money for their time off and things like that. So it's been interesting. I mean, we have just met some amazing people.
Hey, speaking of meeting somebody, it looks like there's another
Wow.
comment here from somebody that knows you two. It's Randall Bergen. Hopefully I'm saying it right.
He's a dialysis nurse that Nikki touched his life.
All right, yeah. Nikki was my
dialysis in the house.
Yeah.
Fellow nurse.
Nikki was my favorite patient to take care of all the time. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
We're trying to get him on staff.
All right, on your personal staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to talk to him as well.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure any of these people would, not just for Nikki, but to advocate for this cause would probably be more than happy to do so.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Hey, I've got one more comment here. It's a little big, so it might cover some of the screen, but I want to read it from Lexi. All right, so it reads, calls at 1 a.m. from Barnes, and we scream and laugh and get super excited and packed in record time. We head straight to the hospital full of hope and excitement to hear that it doesn't work is soul crushing for us because Nikki is our girl. And of course, we want the best for her, but we always leave knowing someone else received that gift of life and that Nikki is still on the list and there is a kidney out there and we just have to stay positive.
Wow, man.
Such love.
Such reflective words, man. Yeah. Wow.
A lot of wisdom, and again, going through this can be a roller coaster, as you already well may know as a mom, that this is not an easy journey. And for many of you to react the way you do when some of these turbulent emotional things happen is so it's inspiring, because it's not an easy thing to have some of these things happen. And I think that the reason why maybe some of these people, Lexi and some of these people that react this way, is because you have such a group of people that have formed such a good bond of love and support, that they all feel like they've got to pitch in with support and pitch in with love, and by doing that,
right on the head,
right,
Jared.
By doing that, whenever something bad happens, one of them feels like, hey, I've got to say something, and I've got to do something to make sure that there's some positive, vibes going on. Nikki, people love you. People love you, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
Yeah, she probably knows
we
that.
lost the screen, Jared.
All right.
There we go.
People, hi, Nikki. People love you, Nikki. She probably knows that. She feels the love from probably everyone she meets. All right, we've lost her sound a little bit. I can't hear her, but I'll wait for a moment to see if she comes back. But wow.
Yeah, this has been a great show, man. It's so great you went over 25 minutes of your scheduled time.
Yeah, we have, and I
very great show.
I typically, don't like to do that because of their time, and their time is valuable. But here she is again, so I'm going to bring her back on. Danielle, thank you. So we've gone over the time, and I know your time is valuable, and so I ordinarily, because your time is valuable, I don't go over the time, but I feel that her story is so amazing and so inspirational. And I've been glad to go over the time, because I think that everybody needs to hear this. Everybody needs to learn more about this and share this, and we need to reach as many people as possible.
Can't hear it, Jared.
All right.
Wow.
So we can't hear you. All right, so I'm gonna maybe have her log back out. Okay.
Yes. Yes, most definitely, Jared. Very, very inspirational story.
Very
Sounds like Miss Danielle is surrounded by a lot of support to help her.
Yes. I'm going to try to bring her on one more time, see if we hear her sound. All right, Danielle, can you? Okay, we're still having problems hearing you. We can't hear you right now, so I'm sorry. Can you put in some earbuds? Hopefully they can find some earbuds. Sometimes that can help out. I've had other guests put on earbuds.
But again, Jared, what an amazing story. And to have someone want to donate and still push it after they didn't match.
Right. That doesn't always happen.
Yeah, because most people just go about their business.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna bring her on one more time. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
All right. Great.
What I was gonna say, just in case, I think it's important to know, is Nikki's got a huge calling on her life, no matter of her medical condition or her disabilities. She's got a purpose,
absolutely,
as much, if not more, than the rest of us do. And God's used her to just to reach a lot of people and to help change, get people through really hard times. I've seen her break walls of prejudice. People that, my own grandparents, for example, when I first adopted her, I was, to be quite honest, I was like, because they were raised in that era, and it was amazing to watch those walls crumble and fall. And
did you say your grandparents?
Yeah, they both passed away now, but many years ago when I first got her, and I knew that ran in their roots, and I ever obviously agreed with it, but I was like, I wonder. I didn't tell him at first. I knew I was adopting and a little girl. I remember the first day we went there, I was nervous.
And wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we've seen that several times.
Wow, that's amazing, Jared.
You're a very special mom. You're an incredible
absolutely.
Mother.
I could. Wow.
Thank you. I don't really feel special. I feel blessed to have her. I can't imagine how my life would have been different without her.
In many ways, I think that sometimes when we have, I've got a nephew. My wife's nephew is autistic, and he's nonverbal. In some cases, when we have, loved ones that maybe can't communicate well enough, we sometimes don't quite understand, why it may be happening. But I think that they're more special, and God has given them a plan, and because of how special they are, they're the ones that sometimes we need to be in awe of, and they're,
Absolutely.
yes, because for them to endure what they're enduring, it means that God has entrusted them, and knows how strong and how much toughness they have in order to have that, through their life. And man, this is just an inspiring story, and I hope that everybody else has felt inspired, and I hope that anybody else who has felt that inspiration knows that that inspiration is from God, and that if you feel inspired from God, to please see the number that's going across the screen, and please call that phone number. Even if you're not the right blood type, she's the blood type O, so blood type O could have a kidney donation from somebody who's O or A. And so even if you're not blood type O or A, there's the paired exchange program, which we've talked about in a little bit of detail today. And please, let's move this forward, and let's make sure that this angel, this very special daughter of God, all right, is taken care of like she needs to be, because she deserves so much. And I'm hoping that everybody understands that this is a special person, a very special person, and a daughter of our Heavenly Father needs our special attention now. And I'm asking everybody to click the share button and make sure that we get this out and reach as many people as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody has, any questions at all, Nikki has a Facebook page. You can message me on there. Whether or not it's, even if it's just something you're thinking about, don't feel bad if you think about it and then change your mind, because that's totally okay. Don't let that stop you from calling and just or reaching out and sending a message just to get information.
Right. Well, thank you again. Any shout outs that you'd like to give before we end the show?
I just want to say thank you first and foremost, to God for all that He's done, and
Amen.
He continues to keep Nikki as healthy as I think what she can be. I don't know that a lot of people would have made it quite as far. He's given her determination and strength. I'm not going to even try to start shouting out to my support staff, who I love with all my heart, because I'm afraid I would miss somebody, but there's so many special people in our lives, and the people that encourage us that I don't even know. I mean, we get messages on Facebook, and just the support and people like you, Jared, who gives us the opportunity to share this, because I can almost guarantee that we'll at least get some contacts after this, and who knows, it might be this broadcast that brings that right person in. So
yes,
I think, thank you for having us, and thank you
You're
for
welcome.
answering the call that you have on your life, both of you guys, to do this and to advocate and provide information. I mean, it is so much appreciated. I can't thank both of you enough.
Hey, Jared, I wanted to say something. I'm glad I caught you. My girlfriend's mad at me because we went over, but I had to walk to the car. But no, Miss Danielle, I just wanted to say I'm glad I caught you. You touch me. Being African American, Black, however you want to frame it, and hearing you share, and you candidly share that you came, your grandparents from a background where, where possibly racism or whatever you want to call it, and for you to accept a Black child with disability, and for that to break a barrier in your family to share that. I mean, it really means a lot to hear that coming from you. And so I have much respect for you as a person, and just sharing that, and thank you, because that just touched me. and just made me take a look at myself and just thoughts that, all white people, whatever, is not like that, and that it's just how you look at it. But you just changed, the way I look at the world in certain ways with that story. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, and you're most certainly welcome. Again, it's God's calling on this child's life. We just have to answer the call and do what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you and your family.
Absolutely. God bless you,
Nikki.
Miss Danielle.
Yeah.
Thank
You and Nikki.
And your daughters, your whole family, and your staff, your personal staff, as well as everybody, Jennifer, and I'm probably leaving out some other people that I've seen tonight. I'm trying to remember them. Ashley, Lexi, Randall. I think there was a Nicole.
Yeah.
So Tandy. All right, I'm trying to go through all of them here. So anybody else that's watched tonight, Joseph Patterson, Joe, Lisa Baxter, thank you for all watching. Please continue to share this, and let's get this out there for this very special daughter of our Heavenly Father so that she can find a donor.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Danielle. And thanks, Steve, for co-hosting. This has been a very special event tonight where, man, this is just an inspiring story. This is going to be replayed and replayed many, many times. I got a feeling that this is going to be replayed countless times. I'll be doing a watch party. I'm sure Steve will, and we'll just be continuing to try to get this story out there for you.
And like I said, thank you both so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate this opportunity.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll be in touch and continue to contact you as much as possible to get follow-ups, and we'll watch your page. Have a good evening, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Miss Danielle. Hey, Jared, I'd like to, before I go, thank you, man, for help, letting me come on. I'll be honest, man, I can't just tell you she just did something to me to make me look at life in a different way.
Pure love,
especially with racism, and I can't even describe it, man. I swear to you, I can't.
Yeah.
So,
especially after Martin Luther King Day just the other day. I mean, we just have this just reaffirms that there are people that have genuine love, and that don't see color, and that is absolutely fantastic. In the era that we live in, it's it's
I'm getting a little choked up myself.
I am too. Yeah, it's
right.
It's pure love.
So, I mean, like you said, that girl touched your heart. So yeah. I mean, she touched my heart. Yeah. And I'm sure she touched a lot of people's heart that she's met and cared for. So
yeah.
I'm going to get off for a second.
All right, brother. Well, thank you everybody for watching tonight. This has been an incredible story of inspiration, a story that we've heard somebody who was counted out, a very special daughter, of God, who was counted out at a very young age, and looked at as maybe somebody who wasn't supposed to be. And somebody saw her, noticed her, and wanted to take care of her. And Danielle, took her on. The rest of her family took her on, and she has been enveloped with love, and everybody who has been a part of her life has felt love, illuminated with her love, and there is a support system that is just outstanding and spectacular. A story that I could go on and on because there's so many different layers, and I've been inspired. I've gotten emotional. Steve has gotten emotional.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't thank God for allowing me to somehow be connected tonight, I thank God for allowing me to put this out there, this information, because this is just an incredible story. So please, everybody, do your part and please share this, because this is absolutely needed. We need to be clicking, putting this out there in Facebook groups, putting it on our own feed, starting watch parties, and just doing everything we can to make sure that this person is enveloped with the same love that she's felt all her life. So thank you very much for watching tonight. This is absolutely one of the best episodes Warriors Quest has ever had. Thank you very much.
Hey, Chad, thank you for having me on, man.
You're welcome, my brother.
Thanks, man. This was
You're welcome.
Awesome show. Thank you guys for watching.
You're welcome, man. God bless you. Have a good evening.
God bless you too, bro.
All right. Again, thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to end this. It's gone over a little bit, but it's well intended because it needed to go over. This is absolutely a great story. Please continue to share this. All right. God bless everybody. God bless our followers, and God bless, Nikki and Danielle and her whole family. All right. God bless. Peace. I'm out. This is just absolutely amazing. This has been a great story, and I want to thank everybody. Watch Warriors Quest. Continue to share this. Peace. I'm out.